Some of the CPAs are just reporting the history. They're filing
Hmm.
the return and they're saying, okay, Karen, you owe $87,000 this year. And the client just writes the check and off they go. And it just keeps on going and going. But by actually doing planning and having a plan in place, the purpose of really having a plan in place is going to give you that roadmap of here's where you're headed, here's what's missing, and here's what needs fine tuning, and here's actually if you keep pace with this piece over here, you're going to be fine. But it gives them a roadmap to follow. And I think more and more people are looking for that advice and they're looking for that map so that they know exactly what they're doing and bring everything together and make it align for their financial future. Because let's face it, you could be retired almost as long as you were working. You worked for
Yeah.
30, 35 years. If you're lucky enough, knock on wood, you might be retired for 30, 35 years. So is your lifestyle really going to change? Do you want to take a dip in your income? Do you want to take a dip in your lifestyle? I don't think I do. I'm sure you don't either.
Welcome to the Throne of Wealth, the podcast that empowers you to reign over your financial future. Each episode brings you tax strategies, wealth building insights, and stories from inspiring entrepreneurs. Each episode brings you tax strategies, wealth building insights, and stories from inspiring entrepreneurs. The Throne of Wealth is brought to you by King of Kings Accounting Firm, where financial challenges become opportunities for growth. Let's get into it.
Thank you for joining our podcast today, The Ton of Wealth. It is such a great pleasure that we have a guest speaker. We are in an amazing time in the year. There's the end of the year ending Q4, where planning happens, where all the strategic financial investments have to be reviewed if you haven't reviewed it. Your tax liability, if you decide that you don't want to overpay in taxes, this is the time of what should you do and who should you contact. Today with us here in our podcast, we have Frank. Frank it's a financial advisor, been in the industry for over 20 plus years, and he's gonna introduce more about himself and talk about how to save and how to create wealth for you and your future generations. Frank, welcome.
Thank you, Karen, for having me. Really glad to be here. And yes, it's a very exciting time, as I'm sure you know, having just passed October 15th. And we're trying to help our clients finish the year not only strong, but by planning smart.
Yes, yes. And we were having a conversation yesterday, getting to know more about Frank, what your practice does and how do you help the clients, the business owners. And we were actually discussing one of our clients that, we were looking into projections for the future. And we were talking about how sometimes as business owners, not this client in particular, but many of us, as small business entrepreneurs, we work so hard for many years. Every morning we do it again, right? This is what I call it, the hustle of the day to day. And we go back into it. But when we look at the end of the day and review what have we done, and in the event that if I were to retire now or create an exit plan towards the future, what do I have? So that was the question that I had yesterday, in mind, not just, the conversation that we were having, but for so many clients, our audience today. And I want you to elaborate a little bit more, Frank, about, that scenario, because this morning I already have two calls and it was all about, Karen, I've been working for over 25 years and I don't have not even a 401k plan.
Hmm. That's a common um, statement that I get quite a bit. And a lot of the conversations that we have with initially a prospect and who becomes a client, but one of their first questions is when I say to them, why are we here today? What brought you to this meeting? Whether it was because I reached out to them and they agreed to meet, or they reached out to me, like, why are we here today? And a lot of times the answer to that question is, I need to know if I'm going to be okay.
Mm.
I'm not sure that I've done enough to be okay. And I'll give an example. Someone that I met with last week had a target of a certain amount of money that they want to have within the next, I think it was 7 years. So, well, we have some work to do if you're going to get there. It's not going to be impossible, but because of your age and where you are and your expenses, there's going to be some challenges. So we actually need to do some real planning, and we actually need to look at your cash flow and your budgeting to see how we can help you get there. Because it's easy for someone to say you're going to get X% and you'll be fine, but we have to, plan for those unexpected downturns in the market with your investments. So that's a big question that we get. I'm sure you get it too, and it sounds like you just had that conversation with someone as well. They feel like they're behind the eight ball because either they waited too long or they were just so busy doing what they do that all of a sudden they wake up and like, uh-oh, what am I going to do now?
Yeah, this is something that is challenging because the one of the clients that she called this morning, right? So she's raised and born here in Atlanta, business owner, moved to Mexico. Mind you, not Mexican, but she's like, the cost of living is a lot less than the US. And she's like, I get to go to the beach every day and live a life, pay for massages a lot less than what I will pay in the US. So the reason of her call was, Karen, I'm trying to see what kind of savings do I need to have in order to be able to retire with this lifestyle.
Hmm.
And mind you, Frank, this person is about 48 or something like that. So, give it or take another 35, 40 years of life. We're talking about, that it requires some serious planning here.
Yes, and what I'm seeing a lot with whether it's a law firm client or another business owner professional is the planning piece is so important. They have all these different plans in some cases, or maybe they don't, but how does everything align? How does everything integrate together with each other? And what are they currently doing that's going to get them to that next level? As you know, working with some CPAs, not you, of course, because you're on the proactive side, but some of the CPAs are just reporting the history. They're filing
Mhm.
the return and they're saying, okay, Karen, you owe $87,000 this year. And the client just writes the check and off they go. And it just keeps on going and going. But by actually doing planning and having a plan in place, and the purpose of really having a plan in place is going to give you that roadmap of here's where you're headed, here's what's missing, and here's what needs fine tuning, and here's actually if you keep pace with this piece over here, you're going to be fine. But it gives them a roadmap to follow. And I think more and more people are looking for that advice and they're looking for that map so that they know exactly what they're doing and bring everything together and make it align for their financial future. Because let's face it, you could be retired almost as long as you were working. You worked for
Yeah.
30, 35 years. If you're lucky enough, knock on wood, you might be retired for 30, 35 years. So is your lifestyle really going to change? Do you want to take a dip in your income? Do you want to take a dip in your lifestyle? I don't think I do. I'm sure you don't either. So we have
Mm.
to have that money there, and we need to know what our spending is going to be like. So it's important to make these kind of projections for people so that they understand and know exactly what they're looking at.
Yeah, this is great that we're having this conversation in October, Frank, because there are so many things that we have to do in planning. Planning is not 1 month and a specific. I oftentimes tell this case, business owners, attorneys, right? Most of the time they're pursuing the next case. The next hire, growth in the business, in the practice, what the law at the moment, getting updated with everything, but they kind of forget about the benefits in themselves or what the practice will bring them. And, having one of the conversations, like I was stating earlier, with one client, this particular client has practiced criminal and personal injury law for over 15 years. And his promise to himself was, I'm going to go to law school. I will provide for my family, myself, and I'm going to have a very successful practice. And I am going to retire at 44. This individual right now is 52 and no plan in place. swamped with cases, very successful, you'll say, in a cash basis, because, the firm is profitable. However, in the long term, we don't have investments.
Hmm. You and I kind of touched on this yesterday in our own conversation. What causes that? Well, time can be an evil thing. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. And sometimes I'll make a joke, not to you specifically, Karen, but I say, oh, Karen, you just spent 2.5 weeks planning your 10-day vacation to Europe. You won't spend 30 minutes a week on your financial future. You won't spend an hour and a half, 2 hours a month on your
Mm,
financial future to make sure that you're moving in the right direction. How does that balance? And it's really the time. And you've heard it, I've heard it. I'm busy. Yes, you're working cases, you're hiring, you're doing
mm,
research for your cases, you're going to conferences. We're in conference mode right now for the law firm owners. Seems like
yeah.
September through early December is when all the conferences happen. So we get it. You're busy, but you have to be able to stop and put aside some time to look at your financial future so that you're not in the position that your client is in. So he's 8 years beyond what he wanted to do. And I'm glad they're busy. That's
Hmm.
great. You're always going to be busy. I don't think that's going to change, because if it does change, then that creates another problem,
Yes, that creates another
right?
problem.
It's
Shorter
another problem.
cash flow. Yes.
So put it on your calendar, 30 minutes, pick a date, whatever it is, but you have to be able to uh, allocate time for your financial future. And also take a look at some of the things that you are doing that you probably shouldn't be doing. Are you doing
Mm.
your own taxes? Dangerous. Are you doing your own bookkeeping? Even more dangerous, right? Don't do that. Bring in the professionals to take care of that for you, because you didn't go to school for that. You went to school to be an attorney, to practice law. And obviously, if you're running a business, I know that you probably didn't really teach that in law school, but that's part of your whole picture. So focus on the things that you're trained in and that you're good at, and delegate the rest.
Yeah, that's smart planning, friend, because not only you're gonna dedicate a lot of time and you're gonna do things wrong. I see that a lot. A business owner, this past tax season early in the year, when they send the financials, the advanced clients cost was not a line item in their balance sheet. And one of my questions was, why don't we have your advanced clients cost listed here? Are you tracking how much the firm is actually spending on a monthly basis, not only for cash flow projections, but also when you get reimbursed those fees, right? As a firm, and in the event that one of those cases doesn't close or settle, what is the bad debt that we incur on that case? If you're not tracking properly, you're overpaying in taxes, at a very high percentage, and that money can be reallocated in benefits. A lot of the times, clients will say, well, I just want to send the estimated tax payment and just get it over with. Well, if you're going to send an estimated tax payment, why don't you send the max contribution to your retirement plan? That's a
Right.
question that I often ask, and they seem to, sometimes we assume as professionals as well that people knows these things, Frank, but many
Yeah.
many professionals out there, they're, like you said, they're just running their business, doing the day to day. They don't know what they don't know. They heard of these things before. They know
Mhm.
that they have some sort of IRA in place. They know that they have some sort of plan in place. They know that they have something going on, and they're just doing the minimum contributions.
Yeah, and a lot of that I think sometimes can come from either not being educated on what your options are, right? Because you didn't
Mhm.
take the time to listen to someone who's experienced and knows what they're talking about, or like you just how much can I put in? Well, you can put in X. Well, I'm just going to put in this number instead. And by actually funding your retirement plan in a tax qualified plan, your 401k, you can do profit sharing. There's cash balance plans which allow you to put away, 6 figures and pay yourself and reduce the exposure of your tax payment to the IRS. You're actually putting yourself first, and that's really the place where you want to be. So sometimes it can be the wrong plan set up, and I've seen it happen where they just didn't know what to do. And it's not that they made a bad decision, but it's just that you have to have an open mind to what else is out there so that there's options. I don't ever want to say to someone, okay, here's the option for you. I want to show you potentially what you can do. You could do it this way, we could do it this way, we could do it this way, and then have a discussion about how much are you able to put away, what are you willing to commit to. If there's employees involved, we have to take that into account as well. But the retirement plan is typically one of the first places that people can improve on to help reduce their taxes currently. Doesn't do anything for them in the future because you're just really delaying the calculation. And there's other things that we can talk about to help, offset that down the road. But everybody wants a tax deduction now.
But Frank, what will you say to those business owners that have, more than $500,000 just sitting on a bank account from the financial standpoint?
First, I'd ask why. Why do you do that? Um, is there a purpose for that? And there could be a number of reasons. Well, we're gonna purchase a building. We're gonna purchase uh, a new. Well, if it's in a business account, you're not going to use it for a house, but you're going to purchase a building. You're going to purchase a car. Um, or the most common one is, I don't know where to put it. I don't want to be risky. I don't want to lose it. Okay, now we're having a little bit of a conversation, and we can talk about still having that money liquid, still being able to invest it, but actually have it grow. Inflation over the years has averaged about 3%. Well, there's inflation and then there's also taxes. I mean, I run into a lot of people who still use CDs, and you know, you might get a great initial rate on that CD, and then you take your eye off the ball and it renews at some ridiculous number, and
Mm,
you weren't paying attention. So everything should be strategic. One thing that I recommend to a lot of people, though, is because of taxes, is have an account where you have money that's specifically to pay for your taxes, so you're not caught off guard. And I don't care how much you put in there, it's all relative to what your earning is, but you shouldn't be scrambling for your quarterlies or come April 15th for where am I going to get this money from? Because
yeah.
ultimately that can snowball, as I'm sure you've seen. And then we get into late payments, we get into payment plans, and that's not a good thing for anybody to
Yeah.
do, you know.
Rather, have a debt with a bank than with the government, Frank, or you'll get a lien.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah.
And nobody wants that. I mean, that's
Yeah.
a great way to ruin your credit.
Yeah, yes, that too, because you won't get qualified if you're trying to apply for something else, especially if you don't have the payment plan in place. That agreement, and sometimes that takes 6 months to 9 months to come in. Those letters delay so much, and it's just such a headache.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you wanna be on top. What would be one advice that you will give the business owners that the attorney that is obviously the one going to court representing the client. They probably have an administrator. They probably have some sort of benefit plans in place through the law firm. But at the moment, they themselves and in the family, most of of our lawyers, Frank, not both spouses are licensed. And so therefore, a lot of the times, the other spouse either doesn't have benefits through the law firm or any sort of planning or investment or social portfolio. What advice would you give them to start at least?
I would take a look at, first off, some sort of retirement plan for your firm, right? 401k is the first place to start. And with the new Secure Act that was put in place almost 3 years ago, any new 401k plan or retirement plan that's established, you're going to be able to get a tax credit of up to $5,000 a year, uh, as long as you're under 100 employees, where you'll get a tax credit on your startup costs and some of the fees and expenses that are part of setting up a 401k plan. So that's one of the first places that you can start. The other thing is then implement what we call a safe harbor plan. And I don't want to get too technical here,
Mm.
but by having a safe harbor plan, you eliminate the discrimination testing to make sure that the higher earners, the executives, the attorney, as an example, doesn't have more than 60%, 80% of the assets in the plan. So make it simple. You own the firm, let's say.
Mhm.
I'm a, I'm a paralegal. You make $300,000 a year. I make $100,000 a year. I put in 5%. The most that you could put in without a safe harbor is going to be 7%. Is that really enough for what you want to put
Mm.
away? You probably want to put away more. So by
Yeah.
putting in the safe harbor plan, doesn't matter what I could do zero, right? You have other employees and maybe they put in 3, 4, 5%, 2%, whatever. You could put in the maximum, and then that offsets and eliminates any testing. So that's one place to look at. The other place on top of that is to do profit sharing. And profit sharing can be done at the end of the year before you file your return, and that could be an additional contribution for everybody. It's a calculation that's done by the TPA, or as we call it, the third party administrator, which for ease of explanation, that's like the accountant for the 401k plan,
Mm.
right? They'll do a calculation,
Mhm.
allow you to put in a profit sharing contribution. It's going to vary based upon age and salaries and all that. But that's also an expense, tax deductible expense for the business as well. The higher earners are going to get the larger part of that contribution, and it's discretionary. At least when I set them up, they're discretionary. May not want to make it one year for whatever reason. You have unexpected expenses. Maybe it was a bad year. The income didn't project as well as you thought. So fine, you don't have to make a profit sharing contribution every year. If your income is going well and your firm is earning, good money and you have the resources to put it in, then yes, you're going to want to do that. You could go above and beyond that for certain firms in what we call a cash balance plan, which will allow you to put away up to six figures. And I've been doing this for a small firm for about 9 years, and we've been able to save this client, I'm going to low estimate it, probably $400,000 a year over those
Wow.
years. And he's been able to save about an additional $1.7 million additional retirement income because of that cash balance plan. So
Wow.
yeah, if it's done right, you're saving a ton of money, and you're also putting away good money for yourself as well.
Wow, that's fascinating, Frank. How can the audience find you, Frank? How can people get in touch with you?
So easy enough. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm there all the time. Very simple. Frank Rekas, just my name. I'm there. You can call me 954-253-5508. You can email me. It's frank at palm, like palm tree, wealthpartners.com. And I'm open to a conversation. Always happy to get on a call. And I do not come from a product pushing standpoint. I like to serve the people, so I like to get to know you. And in lawyer terms, we have a discovery call. See if we like each other. See if I can help you. See what it is that you want to accomplish, and just kind of take it from there.
Wow, that's amazing. So, if anyone is planning to plan for their future, because sometimes we hear this a lot, and I have it, I've done it, I have some investments here and there, but no one is managing. Then Frank and his team can help. This is the time of the year where we need to review our investments. We need to review our profitability. We need to review our growth, and set up some goals for the upcoming year and the future years to come, right? We don't want to just hustle, but we want to make sure that everything that we're doing in a day-to-day basis is going to pay out one day, in a double or three times. We want to make sure that our money is working for us, and not the other way around. And one of the things that I always tell clients is that, by you having all of this cash sitting in the bank, your dollar is this value, it's losing value every day. So if you had $1 now, it's 97 cents and so forth, and it's lower and it's lower. And I mean, due to inflation, right, we lose value. But if we have the right investments and the right portfolio, we can put our money to work for us while we continue to grow our businesses and obviously bless our families on a day-to-day basis. So thank you so much for joining, Frank, for being with us. I appreciate any last words that you will have for the audience before.
I mean, the only thing I want to add is that I really enjoy working with my clients. I have no desire or planning to retire anytime soon. I have a business partner, got a team behind me, but whatever discussion I have with somebody, I'm going to be the first to tell you you're in good shape or this is in good shape. I'm not here to screw up any good work that was done by somebody else, for lack of a better term. But if there's a way to improve, then I'm going to make that recommendation and the choice will be yours. But take some time, put something on the calendar so you can take a look at your finances and make sure that you are headed in the right direction. Because next year, if you haven't done it, you're going to be in the same place, but you'll be 1 year behind.
Yep. I love that. I love that. Well, thank you so much, Frank, for your time. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to The Throne of Wealth. Be sure to subscribe, share, and leave a review to help others find the show. A special thanks to our sponsor, King of Kings Accounting Firm, dedicated to helping you build and protect wealth for generations. Until next time, take the reins of your financial future and lead with confidence.